Hey, what is up, guys? It's been a while since we've talked last, and I wanted to talk about this movie that recently came out called Aladdin. But before we do that, let's address my eye again. I know it's crazy, but my eye recently got pregnant, hooked up with the other eye, and looks like it's gonna be around for a while. So if you guys can handle that and you guys can look elsewhere, that'd be great because that would really help my self-esteem. Now let's move on to Guy Ritchie's Aladdin. Aladdin is, of course, a remake of the 1990s classic Aladdin. And it is a movie that not really a lot of people asked for, but it's here and I'm here to review it. Aladdin stars Will Smith, Mena Massoud, and Naomi Scott. Naomi Scott plays Jasmine, Mena Massoud plays Aladdin, the titular character, and Will Smith plays the genie, and everyone knows about that, and everyone knows that the genie is probably one of the most iconic characters ever put to screen, and Robin Williams played him brilliantly, and his memory and his version of the character will always be in our hearts if you are a fan of that movie. That's just the one big thing that this movie had on its shoulders. And let me just say, and let me just preface by saying this, there's this weird notion that we can't have actors portray iconic characters again, and I, for one, understand that, you know, we have these characters in our hearts, and we have these voices and the actors behind them, and we're so attached to that, and it's really hard for us to let go. And you know, that's kind of human nature. And I wanted to start this off by saying I love Robin Williams. I love everything that he did. He stars in some of my favorite movies, and in fact he stars in my favorite film ever, Good Will Hunting, and I think that's one of his best performances, and I think it's one of the best performances ever put to screen. And the genie is along with that, because Aladdin is, I mean, I might I might take it back, but Aladdin, the 90s version, is, I think, my favorite Disney film ever put to screen. I've been saying put to screen a lot. I mean, it's a movie, of course. Of course it was put to screen. What I was saying is Aladdin is probably one of my favorite movies ever put to screen, and the whole weight on this movie's shoulders was, is it going to live up? And also, why are we watching this? Why is this being made? You know, we love the classic so much. Is this whole thing really necessary? And we have The Lion King following it up later this year, and it's just, what is the point of these live action remakes? And you know, personally, I don't know the industry, I don't know the thoughts behind it, but I can imagine that a hit movie like Aladdin or The Lion King, remaking that now into, you know, our time here in 2019, it's gonna make money. Like it's plain and simple as that. A studio like Disney, you know, they're a money-making machine, and we know that from the Marvel movies and everything else, but you know, they do have other properties and they do want to milk that. And here we are talking about a movie that we love and adore that's been less than 30 years away from the original, and I'm here talking about it because I love that movie, and I was really interested in seeing where this movie would go. And I am so happy to say that this movie went in very unique directions and took from the original, you know, some of the most iconic things, some of the most iconic songs and pieces and set pieces, and reimagined it and made it something sort of unique to its own. Now, of course, a lot of people are going to hate the fact that this movie exists, but if you are open-minded and you just love musicals and you love Disney, then I think you're really going to enjoy this movie. This movie has a lot of heart behind it, and it really fleshes out the characters. I think the two titular characters played by Naomi Scott and Mena Massoud are, in fact, great as the characters. It's weird because you think, how much further can they take the original characters, and what directions can you take them, because they're so lovable and so iconic? But they do give them directions. They give Naomi Scott's version of Jasmine goals. They give her much more than just a damsel in distress. And Jasmine is probably one of the most arguably characterized princesses. I mean, later down the line, they started to personalize these characters a little bit more, give them a little more background and flesh them out. But in the earlier 90s movies, that was kind of non-existent. They were kind of transitioning into giving these princesses some character. But by the end of the movie, she's still the damsel in distress, and she doesn't really have much to do. But in this movie, you get to see her have a drive. You get to see her have goals, passions, and a love for her people of Agrabah. And I think that's something that really sells in the movie. And Naomi Scott is wonderful. Not only can she sing, but she can act. And she's been someone I've been watching since the Power Rangers movie, which is a really weird comparison. She is someone to look out for, and she's multi-talented. And that also speaks to Mena Massoud, who I think is actually a very effective singer. Not as great as Naomi Scott, but the voice is almost like 1-to-1 of the original actor, and it's crazy because the moment he's on screen, you're sold that this is Aladdin. The problem I had was with the first 20 minutes of the movie. In terms of the musical numbers, I feel like the originals are obviously better, but that's the thing, you're just going to constantly compare the musical numbers to the original because they were so groundbreaking and so unique. And this movie doesn't really capture that animation style that you can really get with animation. You don't get people whizzing around, and you don't get that fluid movement of Aladdin as you do with the numbers, and it's so fast paced and it's so enjoyable to watch. But this one feels like, you know, you have to take breaths in between because these are real people, and that kind of takes away from the magic of the original. But there are other musical numbers in this movie that they add, and I think that they're very well performed, and they're new songs, so I think that there's going to be a new generation of kids that are really going to enjoy this, and they're going to be singing those songs in the future because, you know, unlike Beauty and the Beast, which I have a lot of problems with, their live-action remake, that is, the musical numbers felt kind of forced and jammed in there, and they just kind of slowed down the movie. And this kind of does that, but the musical numbers that they added to this movie are a lot more enjoyable and I think a little bit more memorable. But that being said, you know, the iconic songs like A Whole New World and One Jump, and then you have Genie's number, which is really fun to watch, surprisingly. I really like that number a lot. When Genie and Aladdin first meet, I don't know why I'm blanking on. Oh, Never Had a Friend Like Me. That song in this movie is really fun. Will Smith adds his own little spin to it, and he obviously adds a little bit of hip-hop flavor in there. And some might think that's cheesy, but I think it really works for the character. I really like Will Smith as the Genie in this movie. Is it 1-to-1 to Robin Williams' performance? No, it's not. But, you know, just watch it. But does anything ever really live up to our expectations? No. But I think he does it really well in this movie, and he really fleshes out the character, and they give Genie a little bit more motivation outside of just being free, and I thought that was really cute in the way that they did that. I really enjoyed the extra characters they added into this, as Nasim Bedrad as the handmaiden was really fun to watch, even though in the beginning her performance was kind of just figuring itself out, and then towards the end you really get to enjoy just the kooky nature of her, and I thought she was really great. And if I were to kind of knock down on some of the characters that they reimagined for this movie, it would probably be Jafar and the Sultan. I really like the direction that they went with Jafar, and they gave him a background where he kind of came from the slums just like Aladdin did, and that really added something to his character. But in the end, he's just very one note as a villain, but at the same time, he's really fun to watch because he's so over the top. His performance is so just, he's just angry 100% of the time. There's some kind of charm to that because you don't really get to see villains these days in movies be just, assholes 100% of the time. Sometimes, it's nice to go back to that classic feel of villains who are just meanies, and it was fun, but people aren't gonna like it, and I didn't love it, so that's for the I don't know, 1% of the people who care about that, so whatever. Moving on, I think the Sultan is another character that didn't quite work for me in the beginning. He just seemed kind of like a stoic, authoritative figure that was very typical of movies that have this kind of dynamic between the daughter and the father. That was kind of generic, but then towards the end, they really give him some really good moments with Jasmine, and I don't know, he kind of sold me towards the end. But if I'm gonna, it's hard not to compare it to the original, but if you're going to compare it to the original, I really liked the Sultan in the old one. I thought he was adorable and great to watch. But yeah, you got to reimagine, you got to create something of your own, you got to do your own spin to this version of the movie. So, I'll give that a pass. But overall, I think that pretty much sums up my review for this movie. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. The original, I would give a 10 out of 10 because nostalgic value, and it's just so good. I still listen to those songs today. I still love the voice acting in that movie and the animation and just everything, that world. But this movie establishes something of its own, creates something unique that a new generation can enjoy. The actors in this movie put their A game out, and they are so great in capturing the spirit of the original characters, along with the Genie, whose CG can be distracting at times, but him as a character, if you can get past that, he's very enjoyable, and he adds his own unique spin as well, and he's very fun to watch. So you know what? I like this movie. I really did. I was surprised that I would like it so much. I was caught off guard in the beginning for the first trailer, but then that second trailer kind of won me over and captured my interest. Now that kind of leads me to talking about the Lion King remake, which I am not particularly excited about because it was interesting, because I was really excited to hear that they were going to make a Lion King remake. Not because I'm like, oh, I'm giving up on the original, I hate it, let's do something new. I love the original movies as much as everyone else, but if they're going to make these movies, of course I'm going to be excited. I love seeing something reimagined and done in a very unique way towards whatever the director's vision is. But I just feel like from that last Lion King trailer, and you can hold me on this, but I just feel like it's just going to be a one-for-one, just shot-for-shot remake. And to me, that's kind of boring, because animation lends so much excitement on the screen, and every frame is so much frantic energy in an animated film. And I feel like it's really hard to capture that in live action, using Aladdin as an example and Beauty and the Beast. So who knows? I could be very wrong. They have a crazy cast of talent in that Lion King remake, but it does kind of concern me. But whatever. This isn't a review about Lion King. That movie isn't out yet. So guys, what did you guys think about Aladdin? Did you guys like it? I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it's a perfect movie by any means, but who knows? You guys might think something different. You guys actually might hate it, because most people do. Rotten Tomatoes. So anyways, guys, moving on. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's very easy. You just click the button. And if you don't want to subscribe, then share this with someone you think might be interested in these videos. And sorry for the long break, guys, but I want to bring out some reviews later on this week. They're going to be a lot shorter than this. They're just going to be bop, bop, bop. But they're movies that I watched over the past couple of weeks that I really enjoyed and I thought they're worth talking about. And one movie in particular that I feel like is going to go under people's radars. So I'm excited for that, and yeah. So, as always, guys, I will see you later.